Amazing, Nate. You'll be away for a few days. And the only thing that seems to have grown are the weeds. There's plenty of them, so they need sorting out. Probably got a good day's weeding on the site. But before that, notice the peas. I'm right into their prime now. Ideal picking size. Although these are three staggered sowings, they've more or less caught up with each other. And these are probably, well, the first two rows are definitely ready for picking. Probably need another week or so on the end row. So I'm going to, first job of all, I'm going to do a quality test. I think we can commence with the pea picking. So that's the first pass of this number one row. So there's 3 rows altogether. Still 1 or 2 left on, and I'm going to give them another 2 or 3 days. Take them off, and then I'll take all the plants out and have a look at then the second row. I can see there's peas ready to pick on the second row, and also don't want to leave them too long. If you leave them too long, the shell starts tightening up and they go like bullets, the peas do. So I should say 5 days and I'll be harvesting this row as well. In the meantime, I'm going to spend me a nice little half hour shelling these. I just want to show you the onion bed. It's caught me out a bit by surprise. I actually weeded this around about 2 to 3 weeks ago. As you can see, the weeds have gone really rampant. Got quite a lot of this rose bay willow herb around, besides the odd dandelion, dock leaf and the usual mare's tail. So I'm going to have a good session on this. Take my time not to damage it because the onions are coming up and thickening up nicely now. So I would say probably an hour or 2 and I'll bring you back and show you. So that's this bed done. It didn't take too long really. Most of them was the annual weeds. Got the odd dock and stinging nettle and whatever in there, but not too bad. Now because the onions are now in full growth, bulbing up, they've come to the top of the soil. So if you've got any weeds that are fairly close to the bulb, just put your hand on top of the bulb, press it against the soil and lift the weed out. Otherwise there's a risk you'll actually pull the bulb out as well and damage the roots possibly. Right, I'm going to carry on with this next bed and shouldn't take too long. See you in a minute. So that's the second bed done. So it has been a really big advantage by putting these plastic crawler boards down the beds. I've staggered them. The first year I grew onions, I just planted 3 beds and it made it almost impossible to weed because obviously the leaves get damaged. There's been 1 or 2 casualties in here, but really for what I've done now, it's acceptable. And the thing I look at weeding is that you might look at a weed and think, oh, that won't hurt, or leave it for a day or 2. But what you've got to remember, there's something keeping that weed alive, whether it be moisture or food in the soil. And with it taking that, that's something what your plant you're growing could be having as well. So bear in mind, do your weeding often. So that's the last of the allium bed done. This one didn't take much doing actually because this ground is open anyway. I planted a few leeks, you probably saw in a video 2 or 3 ago, and I've got these here. These are the musselburgh. I potted these up to try and thicken them up, but they've been in here 2 or 3 weeks and they don't seem to have budged. So what I'll probably do in the next day or 2 is just give this a good watering to soften the ground and plant these out and let them done for the rest of the year. The runner beans are another crop this year which has been affected, I think, by the weather. When I planted these, they hardly moved, and then with that bit of rain and the heat, they shut up the canes, but again, no flowers. All of a sudden, the flowers have appeared very, very quickly, and we've got some massive bunches of beans. This is a variety called Benchmaster, so I'm going to get these picked and we'll have them for our lunch. I'm really happy with that first picking of beans, as you can see. Quite a few there, and I'm going to enjoy them. I always think the first picking is the best. Well, just like the peas, remember with beans to pick them on a regular basis, otherwise they'll get to seed quickly. So these are quite long. I mean, say these are like used for shows and stuff like that. They do produce quite a long bean, but they're very rarely get stringy unless you can actually see the seed bulging. Anyway, going to get these in the house ready for lunch. To accompany that lovely crop of runner beans I've just harvested, I thought I'd get me some potatoes. I think this is only the second container I've harvested this year. We had a really good crop with the first one. Hopefully this is the same. Variety is Charlotte, so just upend it. Let's see what we got. With these potatoes in containers, I tend to just harvest as required and then take the haulms off, leave them, and as the cooler weather, wet weather comes in, I stack them one on top of the other, maybe 3 high, and then I put a tarp over the top. Still get some airflow, but it keeps most of the rain out, and they tend to like it like that. And as I say, some of these I've had out from like February, March, and I'm going to do exactly the same with this. Anyway, let's empty this bucket and I'll bring you back and show you what we got. And that's the harvest out of the bucket. Quite a few in there. You might think they're not very big, but with the Charlotte I like them this size, and because I can pick them this size, that's the reason now that I don't grow first early, so I just go straight into the Charlottes. And if I'd have left these longer, they'd have got a bit bigger, but ideal salad potatoes. Give these a quick wash, scrub, probably no need to peel them. Just quickly show you, having given these a wash under the tap, they come up nice and clean. But as you can see, there's scab appeared on some of them. And I put that down to that really dry spell we had, and say it is hard to keep on top of the watering with stuff in containers. But nonetheless, they'll taste just as good. I'll just pop you into the garden greenhouse and get a little update on how the capsicums are growing. As you can see, most of these are bearing a reasonable amount of fruits now, so doing well, very happy with them. There's 8 varieties in total, and I've got 2 of each, so that's 16. These, you may recall, are grown in my wicking system that I've built and seem to be doing okay. That's a Venus flytrap I've got there, and I've got another one over here. If you have got these, remember to water them from the bottom and also use rainwater. But they do really well in here, getting plenty of flies. So most of the plants are doing well. I've got 1 or 2 little queries in here. I'll just pop you through the foliage if I can. And this one here, it's all bent and weird. I don't know what's happened there. It's a variety called New Eyes. I've got one down the opposite end. No problem at all. I've grown it before, so there's no issue with that. You may recall at the beginning of the year I did have an infestation of whitefly on here, and but a quick spray of the SB plant invigorator quickly sorted them out. This year, all I'm doing now, once a week, I'm actually feeding them from the top with maxi-crop seaweed, and that seems to be working quite well. Normally, I use a tomato feed, but I thought I'd try the maxi-crop, and I seem to like it. So that's me update on the peppers. Moving away from the vegetables bit, just like to focus for a few seconds on the flower bed, and this was a bit of an afterthought. Originally, as you know, it was the asparagus bed, and I decided to turn it over to flowers this year. As you can see, the sweet peas are continually giving me a massive crop. I'm picking these probably every 2 or 3 days. But dotted in between here, some of the dahlias have actually gone over now, although there's still some around this side. I've got a lovely little flower there. I'm not sure what it is. I'll put the name underneath. I had that from a fellow plot holder. Some more dahlias. Another one here. I'll give you the name of that as well on the screen. But there's some dahlias in here. I think they're called the Bishop's Children. I grew them. I just left them in over winter. They've done fantastic, and I'm still giving me a really good show. So I think this is something I'm going to be continuing again for next year. Really happy with it, and it adds a little bit of splash of colour as well. I noticed on the 3rd row of peas that some of them had started to mature quite quickly, so rather than risk them going over, I've decided to harvest the whole crop. One tough lesson learned off this sowing is that in between the peas and the celery, I actually planted 2 rows of swede and they got swamped out by both crops. But all's not lost. I've still got some swede in the brassica cage, but next year I think I'll think more carefully where I plant next to these. Well, this is my third and final picking of the peas, and I must say I'm very happy with them. This variety, as I said before, Hurst Green Shaft. There's a few in there which probably won't make the cut. They should have been picked probably a few days earlier, but not to worry. In general, most of these will actually end up in the freezer. These are about 2 to 3 weeks later than normal, and the way I gauge that, I'm usually shelling the last batch of these while I'm watching the stage of the Tour de France. Well, that finished 2 weeks ago. But in general, as I says, very happy with this. Few lessons learned. As I said earlier, some of the crops got shaded out by these, and I'll probably space them out a bit farther next year, but as I say, you learn by your mistakes. I've got a video on here how I grow the peas in more detail, if you want to have a look up there and follow that. That's a step-by-step guide, and that's about it for this one. Many thanks for watching. I'm off to shell these now. See you in the next one. Bye for now.